All right, everyone. So we're going to be watching this video from Clyde called A Response to Plague of Gripes. Now, Plague of Gripes is, if you don't know who he is, he made a video titled Naruto the Self-Made Hypocrite. And ever since then, people have been of the mindset that Naruto isn't actually an underdog. That the whole thing that Kishimoto was trying to say about hard work can overcome talent kind of gets lost when your main character has, a lot of things going for him as opposed to going against him. And ever since that video came out, people have been of course going with that same mindset that no, Naruto's not an underdog. Now, it's interesting because a lot of the thing is that a lot of people didn't start automatically adopting this mindset when Plague of Gripes posted his video. No, I mean, if anything, I remember people were thinking about this back when the chapter came out where it was revealed that Naruto was the reincarnation of Ashura, and of course Sasuke being the reincarnation of Indra. I remember back then people were saying this, that, well, this kind of undercuts the underdog thing because he's the reincarnation of the son of an incredibly powerful shinobi. So, like, where's the underdog thing? It's like that kind of gets lost now. Now, of course, a lot of people say that that doesn't necessarily change anything, and Clyde apparently being one of them. So let's go ahead and watch this video and see Clyde's response to Plague of Gripes' video.
I don't know much about Naruto.
And as always, guys, links in the description. Like, share, subscribe, you know what to do.
So let's talk about it.
If you're a fan of the series known as Naruto, then chances are you've seen this video floating around on YouTube called Naruto the Self-Made Hypocrite. Ever since this video blew up, my comments on my Naruto How the Anime Lost What Made It Special video.
Naruto was never an underdog. Every fight he sucks ass and gets bailed out by the Invisible Fox. Yeah, that's not true. That's not true. Naruto's had fights where he wasn't bailed out by Kurama. He has. That's just...
have been flooded with NPC tier comments regurgitating most of the points made in Plague of Gripes' video. Now, these comments involve such things as Naruto isn't an underdog, Rock Lee is the true hard worker in the series, Naruto had everything handed to him. Really, just...
No, that's another character.
And a lot of points that every Naruto fan already knew. Anyone with half a brain that's actually seen the series wouldn't act like they've just plucked a gold bar out of their ass the same way these people do. It's honestly like going onto Twitter and telling people that you're the first person in history to ever jerk off. You're literally just coming all over your own face and no one actually cares. So anyway, this video, as you can guess, is the inspiration to my own video on the topic and the story of Naruto. I will say before I proceed, Plague's video absolutely does have some valid points regarding Naruto, highlighting many issues with the series, and I'll be linking it in the description so you can all form your own.
Definitely a big issue with the series. Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Now, please don't hate on his video just because I debunk it with my own or prove to you that he's not entirely correct. In fact, I'd actually suggest watching his video before you continue with my very own. But anywho, let's begin.
We will do that, by the way. We will watch that video.
Really an underdog. From the very start of Naruto, it's made absolutely apparent that Naruto has no one. He has no parents, family, friends, and he can barely even trust himself, as he has a literal planetary being that's been sealed
inside Naruto's a powerful force that could easily turn. Yeah.
Inside of him. That not only
and then of course later on we find out that it's only half of Kurama and the other half is sealed inside his father.
He torments him, but at any moment can take advantage of Naruto's despair and loneliness. For the most part of Naruto, the village sees him as nothing but a troublemaking pest, and those who are aware that the Nine Tails is actually sealed inside of Naruto treat him like he's an animal. It honestly isn't until he becomes part of Team 7 that he gets consistently treated like an actual human being. Hinata and Hiruzen were the only two before that who actually seen him as more than a Jinchuriki, but they also weren't around enough for it to even be counted, as Hinata was rarely allowed near Naruto due to how strict her family and the Hyuga were, and Hiruzen checked up on him every now and then but was swarmed with the responsibilities of being Hokage. Hiruzen then proceeded to die shortly after Naruto became part of Team 7. A lot like to make the comparison that Rock Lee is the true hard-working underdog in Naruto, a boy born with no talent for anything. Rock Lee may as well be a real human transported into the series of Naruto, as he can neither use ninjutsu, genjutsu, or even summon anything. With his raw hard work alone, Rock Lee trains himself to the degree where he is not only superior superior to Sasuke at hand-to-hand combat, a famed member of the Uchiha, someone who naturally was very quick at learning things like taijutsu and scored almost perfect grades on everything except cooperativeness, but this did include
I always found this funny. Cooperation and positivity C. God damn it.
taijutsu. That means he was scored
That's from
quite
attitude
highly
B.
at taijutsu. Rock Lee trained himself so hard from scratch that he was the first person to not just touch Gaara, but send him to the Shadow Realm and surpass Sasuke, like I just said, in hand-to-hand combat. Rock Lee is without a doubt a true underdog. In fact, I don't think anyone disagrees with that notion. But here's
No.
a theory, a little idea to ponder, just a thought if you will. What if there is actually more than one underdog in a series? His name, you may not have heard of him.
A person who has little status in society, a competitor thought to have little chance of winning a fight or contest. Yeah.
Is Naruto Uzumaki, the main character. As I said prior to the Rock Lee stuff, Naruto had started from zero. Absolute zero. Now, just from me saying that, my comments are gonna be flooded with things like,
Clyde, Naruto has Kurama. Kurama, gifts Naruto every win, and, if it wasn't for
Again, that is absolutely wrong. Kurama did not give Naruto every win.
him, Naruto would be nothing,
I absolutely hate this mentality about comparing Naruto to Rock Lee, because it's almost like half of you actually have Alzheimer's disease. Did you all forget that Kurama was never friendly with Naruto at all until episode 549, which includes both part 1 and part 2. It wasn't until that far into the anime and manga chapter 571, which includes over 10 whole years real time of storytelling by Masashi Kishimoto, that Kurama was actually helpful, had Naruto's interest in mind, and worked alongside him. Almost every single time Kurama got involved in one of Naruto's fights was so he could take advantage of Naruto's helplessness, hatred of a villain, or just any slither of a chance to cause trouble and weaken the seal.
Yeah,
of
weaken the
Naruto's
seal, yeah.
body. Kurama verbatim says this on more than one occasion.
You know, hearing him say all of this and just, you know, reminding people what happened in the series, when he says this, I'm just reminded of something that's going on in the recent Boruto manga. Again, I won't say what it is, just in case there's someone watching this who isn't all caught up with the manga. That's something that I know a lot of people are really, really worried about happening in the series, because it would be really, really stupid and really dumb. I think even Boruto defenders would agree that it would be absolutely stupid for this to happen. Anyway.
And even highlights how each Jinchuriki before Naruto had treated him as a tool. This went back almost 100 plus years. As far as us viewers are concerned, Kurama absolutely hated humans and had no reason to help Naruto genuinely, other than for it to lead to Naruto removing the seal, which kept Kurama inside of his 8 trigrams prison, and then Kurama would take over Naruto's body. Now, even if Naruto were to die hypothetically, Kurama would randomly respawn on the planet anyway, so to argue that he did care about Naruto up until Naruto showed that he really wanted to help rid Kurama of his hatred would be very moronic and extremely far from the truth. Also, one of the actual reasons Kurama ended up liking Naruto later on in the story was because he did admire Naruto's hard work, which he himself actually explains in the story. Kurama says there were countless times where he actually expected Naruto to lose, or the situation was so one-sided that he should give up, and Naruto never once did. Kurama even foreshadows and starts coming to this conclusion as during the Pain situation, a man who is Naruto's seemingly philosophical opposite, he was so disgusted by Pain's hopelessness and change of heart / desires that he actually agreed and wanted to genuinely help Naruto stop him. Hence the first Biju Sage transformation we ever see in the struggle against Nagato, where Kurama highlights later to Naruto that he actually allowed the sage and his own chakra to mix, like they were able to do later on during the war. This did show that Kurama was slowly over time sympathizing with Naruto and his will to never give up. Before this, however, Kurama was still a massive and cynical force of nature that let Naruto go berserk on numerous occasions against numerous enemies, such as the fight against Haku and Zabuza, Orochimaru, Neji, Gaara, Sasuke, Orochimaru again, and Sasuke again with their multiple encounters in both part 1 and part Part 2. The entire pain fight where he even entices Naruto due to how rock bottom he is after the Hinata event is the best example that Kurama did not give a single fuck before what I said prior. And there are also plenty more occasions in this series which represent this that I do not need to list. To say that Naruto had everything handed to him is genuinely so goddamn dumb. One thing a lot of you all seem to also forget is that Naruto was actually very talented and did work hard throughout the story, regardless of the Nine Tails being inside of him. We can assume he got this from Minato, his father, who was insanely talented as a ninja when he was a kid and had an insane knack for creating jutsu. Although Naruto was terrible in school, kinda like how most are when they don't have anyone at home to push them to do better, and don't care about them getting good grades, Naruto in part 1 was only 12 years old through 13 and was dealing with depression as a child alongside this loneliness, which would also directly correlate his lack of caring for schooling, eating ramen alone, which he himself actually says is his favorite pastime, and we are also shown that his fridge is full of off milk, which isn't a very nice sight to see. Also, the direct reason Hinata even liked Naruto in the first place was because she could see his depression, but she also seen that he would never give up regardless of the circumstances. When Naruto tried to learn new techniques and really wanted to do something, he learned them very quickly because when he put his mind to something, he knew that he could do it because that was his ninja way. The multi-shadow clone jutsu is the best example because this was a forbidden jutsu, yet Naruto learned it in a single day, then mastered it quite quickly and was able to incorporate it into other jutsu, then used it against almost every other villain that he fought afterwards throughout the story. Naruto also had an unusual knack for taijutsu, as he was able to do well against Neji in the Chunin exams, even without the Nine Tails amp. He smacked the shit out of Sasuke in their final fight at the end of part 1, and then in Shippuden, he was casually swapping hands with high tiers all of the time. The fact that as a 16-year-old boy, he was able to go hand to hand with Obito, Madara, Pain, and 2 Raikage is absolutely insane. It's genuinely so goddamn impressive, and it's actually a bit of a letdown that people don't give Naruto credit for these things.
That's actually
Alongside this,
true.
he mastered the Toad Sage mode, whereas Jiraiya didn't, and he was around 50
Although-
years old, yet Naruto was 16 at the time when he mastered it. He also then used it to help master the Rasen Shuriken, which Kakashi says the original Rasengan in itself is already hard enough to master, and neither Jiraiya nor Minato did anything like that with the jutsu itself.
all of this does sound good, but I feel like this does kind of, play into what a lot of people do say about, Naruto technically not really being an underdog because, or the whole thing about Naruto not really being all that talented, because that's how he kind of was originally presented, as being someone who didn't really have a knack for, or at least nowhere near as much as other people or the other kids who were in his class. And that's kind of what made him an underdog, because the fact that he was struggling so much with taijutsu, ninjutsu, and I think even to this day, like, he still can't fucking do genjutsu. Like that's kind of what a lot of people are trying to say, is that, okay, so you originally presented this guy as being someone who like can't really do any of these things, and yet here he is, he's managing to do all of these insanely all of these insane feats, like you said, swapping hands with people like Obito, who had the Rinnegan and a Mangekyo Sharingan, was enhanced with Hashirama cells. Madara, same thing. What was it? Pain, Nagato, someone who had the Rinnegan, and it's like you're kind of proving their point, dude.
All they did, however, was implement the actual Rasengan with other jutsu, like Jiraiya with his massive Rasengan's Sage mode, and Minato, who used it to neg people with the Flying Thunder God technique.
I mean, the thing is about that, I do think I kind of get what he was trying to say, that the only reason why Naruto was bad at all these things because he had no one to necessarily teach him. He had no one at home, he had no parents to sit down and actually study with him, help him learn help him learn these things that he was struggling with. And I get that, but again, it's like it kind of goes into what people were saying with like, originally people thought that Naruto was someone who just naturally had no had no it didn't really have a knack for, you know, like I said, taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu, even to this day. And yet despite that, he still works hard to learn them. So him learning them was only a result of his hard work, despite the fact that he has little to no God, what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever, you know what I mean. And yet now it's revealed that no, he did have talent in all of them. He just needed somebody to teach him. Well, then if that's the case, then that original message is kind of gone. You know what I mean? It's like, again, I think I get what, and look, maybe that's what Kishimoto was going for from the beginning. Maybe that's just, that was a problem with people projecting something onto a character that was never the author's intention. Maybe you could say that is the case, but I'm just saying, like, I think that maybe that's where people are coming from, where they thought that Naruto was someone who just didn't really have a knack for all this, just like how in real life people sometimes have no affinity for whatever it is, whether it's let's say, for example, math or science or English, and yet you see someone else and they're just so good at it, it comes so easy to them, and that doesn't mean you can't learn. It just means that it's going to take you a lot longer to learn this compared to someone else who just has a knack for it. You know what I mean? But now it turns out that no, Naruto was always really talented at the stuff. He just needed someone there to teach him. And I just think that that's kind of what people are kind of mad about, because they had this original idea of Naruto. And again, maybe it's kind of necessarily on them, because they, like I said, they projected something onto a character that the author never really intended with, or never really had any intention of trying to say this with that character. So
To Kakashi finally training Naruto for once, Naruto was able to get a small push where he learned what his nature type was, and from there he was able to create the Rasen Shuriken and later on master Sage Mode when he was training with the Toad Sages. To be fair, by the way, guys, this isn't even a talent thing, but actual hard work.
I don't know. I mean, if you're capable of grasping all these things at such a young age, I would say you're pretty talented. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that hard work didn't go into it, but I would say that talent was involved.
Alright guys, so I'm going to need you all to take a seat now, because I'm going to be giving you a bit of a teaching lesson on the difference between Rock Lee and Naruto when it comes to their struggles throughout the series of Naruto. So let's start off with Mr. Rock Lee. Let's take a look at the negatives. No ninjutsu. Alright, that's pretty tough. Let's take a look at the positives. Insanely powerful forbidden taijutsu that can take on 10 Tails Madara when it's actually mastered. That's pretty impressive. Insane levels of motivation and compassion from the strongest taijutsu user that's ever lived in the series, and this is confirmed by Madara himself. Teammates that genuinely push and are willing to help and support him. Even Neji, who simply said he'd never surpass him. Okay, now let's take a look at Naruto Uzumaki. Well, the positives, he has a lot of physical potential. Strong shinobi like Jiraiya only start looking after him almost 15 years after he was borderline suicidal as a child. Pretty good positives. Let's take a look at the negatives compared to Rock Lee, okay? We have a juicy old, his source of power wants to possess and mind crush him at all times throughout the story. Nobody likes or supports him throughout the village. Extremely depressed as a child. Teammates look down on Naruto and are constantly either making him more happy or extremely depressed. He has no parents. Motivation to grow stronger is very limited because he has nobody to push him. He is destined to fight the strongest people in the shinobi world, aka Pain, Obito, Madara, and even someone like Itachi. And all of these people want to kill him because the demon, which has been ruining his life since he was a child, is thankfully sealed inside Naruto. Naruto is also destined to fight his best and only friend to the death.
Man, I wouldn't necessarily say he's his only friend, his best friend maybe, but not his only friend.
I will say, Kurama has helped Naruto a lot, with or without good intentions. But to say Naruto, the same kid who was born without parents, friends, loved ones except 2 people, until the age of 13, had Irika Sensei, who didn't originally like Naruto, Naruto having to watch all the other kids prosper and be loved by their families while he sat on the sidelines, a boy who was destined to be chased across the earth until the day he died by the Akatsuki, had no one like Might Guy to see that hard work in him and show him compassion, To say that Naruto didn't work his ass off learning techniques, helping people out, show compassion to everyone he encountered, whether they were a villain or just a random Joe Blow, and genuinely wanted to not only save Sasuke from a road filled with despair, but also wanted to lead his village into a new era where he could protect everyone by himself. The actual difference between Naruto and Rock Lee is that Rock Lee didn't have the hardships Naruto had growing up. From what we know as viewers, Rock Lee still had parents and could have lived a relatively normal life. He didn't actually need to be a ninja. Even Tsunade, one of the legendary Sannin, actually states this in the story too. Naruto would have had to become one, especially with the Akatsuki existing in his world. Even though Naruto wanted to become a shinobi, he was destined to fight regardless. Naruto had 4 other individuals in his life by 13 and onward that he genuinely cared for: Jiraiya, Sasuke, Hinata, and Sakura, his original love interest. Throughout the series, we see Sakura punch him, make fun of him, lie to him, be a pretty much all-round cunt to him. She helped him out in many situations involving her medical ninjutsu, but a lot of these situations, to be fair, could have actually been done by any other random medical ninjas, so to give her a lot of credit would be a bit much.
Well, here's the thing. I always thought that the reason why, because I think I remember, someone did ask me to watch a video that was made by someone else that explains why Sakura hits Naruto, and I always thought that was just done for like comedic effects, because we know that Sakura isn't the only character in anime to do this. There are other animes where, you know, you have the female character just, you know, like hitting the main character, you know, comedically like this. Even though a lot of people say, well, it doesn't really make sense because Naruto's supposed to be a lot stronger than her, so how the hell is she able to do this to him? Well, it's a gag. Like, it's other anime series also do this. Like, Naruto is not the only one. So I think maybe that's because I will watch that video. I was asked to watch it and I will watch it, but I mean, this isn't necessarily, I will say, because she's, you know, like rude to him. I mean, she is kind of, but the whole hitting thing, I don't think it's because she like genuinely wants to like what is it? I don't think it's because she wants to like actually physically abuse him. I think it's just done for like a comedic effect, because like I said, other anime series also do this.
Any other random medical ninjas, so to give her a lot of credit would be a bit much. From chasing an Uchiha boy based solely on his looks and stature, to treating Naruto like a joke and putting a huge burden on him, his love interest of the series was also another negative to add to the list of bullshit that he had to deal with when he was a kid. Naruto hyperventilates over all the stresses he actually deals with later on in the story, and Sai, who is considered borderline emotionless and kind of psychopathic actually, because he himself bottles up his emotions, which is why he understands Naruto more than the others do, even critiques Sakura for the things that she did to Naruto and almost declares that she has been somewhat psychologically abusing him.
I'm not gonna lie, that moment where he basically like throws it all back in her face as to what she's doing to him, that is immediately one of my favorite moments in the entire series. I love it. I love that someone finally called her out on this shit
For the past few years. Now, some may say that Naruto's life actually improved tenfold in Naruto Shippuden, but all he did was bottle everything up, and this in turn leads to the hyperventilating scene. For some people, hyperventilation is actually rare. It only occurs as an occasional, panicked response to fear, stress, or a phobia. For others, this condition occurs as a response to emotional states such as depression, anxiety, or anger. I shouldn't even have to say this, but Naruto even lost his best friend. Someone who at first he never actually got along with, and someone he actually kind of disliked. They started off as classmates who bickered together, fought together, trained together, almost died together, and both shared a similar path of pain. One of the only people in the entire village that could actually understand him. Naruto fought until the very end to get Sasuke to come back to the village. From having to almost break every bone in Sasuke's body in their battle at the end of part 1, to Sasuke wanting to kill Naruto and Team 7 on multiple occasions of the story. He never once gave up on him. His very first friend was also one of the many few who had left him. Hinata, on the other hand, Naruto was extremely oblivious to her feelings, which we actually see countless times in the series, and it's even referred to in the movie. But it was also very clear that he actually did appreciate Hinata as an individual, as she had always been very kind to Naruto since they were very young. She had helped him in the written Chunin exams, gave him the ointment as a gift during the actual fighting part of the exams, always tried to talk to him when he was a young boy but wasn't allowed to.
I'm just kind of curious, like what your guys' thoughts on the last Naruto the movie? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who are not really big fans of the movie because it chose to focus on the whole romance aspect of it. And if I'm being honest, like the whole romance thing was never the thing that people found really all that interesting in the Naruto series, and I think that's the case with a lot of shonen series. It's yeah, it's there. You're always gonna have the protagonist sort of like fawning over one of the female characters. That's pretty normal, but for the most part, like people read shonen because they want the fights, they want the action, they want the adventure, they want the story, they want the world building, they want the character progression, they want the development. They want characters to go on arcs, whether they be positive or negative. Like that's the thing they really want to focus on, or that's the thing that they really want out of stories. And when it comes to the last Naruto, the movie is I get that, or I could be wrong here, but I think it was said by, I can't remember if it was Kishimoto or by the director of the movie, that they, like, this was a thread that was sort of left that was kind of left, what was it, like unresolved in the Naruto series. I mean, yeah, in the manga we had the chapter 700 where it flashed forward to like 10 years into the future, and Naruto like married Hinata, and he had Boruto and Himawari, and of course Sasuke with Sakura, and they had Sarada, and other characters also did the same thing. But like I think a lot of people said that we never really got to see it. We never got to see that moment of like Naruto and Hinata kind of getting together, and I think that that movie kind of focused on that. And I know a lot of people probably didn't really like that because they probably thought that everything else about the movie was a lot more interesting. The Toneri and the clan, the Otsuki clan that was living on the moon, and how they went extinct. I think, if I'm being honest, I do kind of agree with the fact that that was probably the more interesting part of the story. I kind of wanted to know more about that, and because I think I said this in a previous video, the Hyuga clan kind of got screwed in the Naruto series, even though I think that Kishimoto was trying to hint that the Byakugan is actually like more powerful than even the Sharingan, which, I mean, based on evidence now, it's like that's not necessarily true, is it? I mean, not that the Byakugan is weak or anything, it's very powerful. And now with the Otsuki clan, it's like we see that the Byakugan can do more things than just let you see a person's chakra points, or let you like have 360-degree vision. Like it can do way more. I mean, hell, Momoshiki's Byakugan lets him see into people's future. So who knows what, like, the Byakugan, if it's enhanced with let's say six pass chakra, what it could really do. Like what can it really allow a person to see? It's actually pretty interesting. And I think that maybe if Kishimoto had just chose to focus more on that, it would have been a lot more interesting. Even though personally, I'm not a big fan of the Otsuki clan. You guys know that. I don't think they're interesting. They're boring, in my opinion. Personally, I would prefer if they just kind of move away from that. I've always said this. But if you're gonna do it, then you might as well focus on them. Just tell us who they are. Develop these characters, other than just, oh, they're parasites who go around planets and just eating them. Wow, that's really interesting. But yeah, so I guess to the point that I was trying to make is that again, I'm just speaking my thoughts on the movie. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. Again, even though in general I'm not a fan of the Otsuki and the Otsuki clan and all of that, but if you are going to focus on them, then at the very least tell me who they are. Like really go in on them. Personally, I don't care about the romance. I never have. In Naruto, I never found that the most interesting part of the series. If anything, whenever it chose to focus on the romance, I was kind of like, meh, whatever, who cares? Yeah, okay, Hinata fawning over Naruto from behind the scenes, whatever. Sakura, Sasuke, whatever. And then you had, what was her name? Karin, yeah. And then you had Karin over Sasuke, and I think they sort of hinted, or Kishimoto sort of hinted to Tamari and Shikamaru, and which of course we now know they're married. Yeah, but so those are just my thoughts on the last. Let me know your thoughts on the last Naruto the movie, because I'm curious. Did you like the movie? Did you hate it? What did you think of it?
exams, always tried to talk to him when he was a young boy but wasn't allowed to. Then even while Sakura was atop the hill that Pain had created when he blew away the village, while she's up there crying, not helping at all, Hinata goes down there and tries to save Naruto. She was completely aware that she would actually die in the fight, but she went through with it anyway, selflessly. Straight after Naruto learned she had loved him the entire time and genuinely cared about him almost more than any other person in his life, she then proceeds to get kebabbed by Pain before his very eyes, which Kurama takes advantage of, by the way. Before all of this, Naruto had also just recently lost his only father figure in the entire series, Jiraiya, the man who considered himself a failure to the village but in Naruto's eyes was a hero to him. Jiraiya helped Naruto train, learn the Rasengan, become his friend more than pretty much any other person at that time, joked around with Naruto, raised Naruto into a mature adolescent, and showed...
Oh yeah, I forgot in this version, they for some reason censored the fact that his arm got blown off. I don't know why.
Joked around with Naruto, raised Naruto into a mature adolescent, and showed him the path he needed to take to reach his goal. Jiraiya even passed down his dream to Naruto, which also helped Naruto's own dream of becoming Hokage. After everything they went through together, Jiraiya is then defeated by Pain. Naruto started off with nothing, and when he got something, it was never there permanently. To say that's not an underdog who started from scratch is absolutely crazy. I will say this to you guys, Bleach and Berserk may be my personal favorite series, but there is no series that has ever compared to the amount of emotion, hard work, and inspiration that I felt watching Naruto strive to reach the status of Hokage, since even I was a child watching him go from a 12-year-old boy to the actual Hokage of his village. Naruto Uzumaki is the definition of an underdog, a boy who wanted to be Hokage, a boy who never gave up, and a boy who fought every day against a demon inside of him that he never asked to have. At the end of the day, this lack of remorse for his character and failure to try to understand what and who he is ironically the story Naruto tries to teach us. That we see these goofballs with fake smiles, obvious loneliness and hardships, but completely ignore it all due to our pampered and more important lives. The fact that I even have to make this video is genuinely saddening. It shows me a direct glimpse of the true perspective from the average Naruto fan. People comparing Naruto's childhood to their own, which does not even hold a candle to the struggles Naruto went through. I mean, while you're stressing over cleaning your room, finishing a paper for university, taking out the trash, or just having someone not like you back romantically, Naruto had to go through all of the bullshit and above to get people to even accept him. This cognitive dissonance just displays how spoiled and weak a lot of people are that actually watch the series of Naruto. And maybe that's just why people acknowledge Rock Lee so much more, since his goals were never imperative and his life was never on the line. Like I said before, Lee never had to go through this. Naruto didn't have a choice. Through the destiny of being Ashura's reincarnation, Naruto wasn't destined to succeed. He was destined to try his absolute hardest to fight against his best friend to the death, and through his hard work, he changed that destiny. I would like to give thanks to Seth the programmer for working with me on this very video, as this video had to be made for the community's sake. Now, I don't mean to be an arsehole to PlagueOfGripes, but thanks to him, he's actually ruined the perspective on Naruto being an underdog, and the general consensus of his viewers was the original inspiration for this very video. As I said before, it is actually sad that I have to make this video because some of you are actually NPCs. While you're at it though, guys, please go check out Seth's video on Naruto being a planet buster. We actually worked on that video too for an entire week, and it will be linked in the description below. Please go check it out. It's actually a really good video. As I said, we both worked on it, so yeah, please go check it out, guys. But I also want to say that I actually recommend you guys do your research on things like depression, mental health, and anything else relating to this, as pretty much this entire discussion is a direct showing that most of you are truly unaware of Naruto's struggles, which run deeper than him just fighting people in the story. It's also a direct parallel to the real world and how unnoticed these issues go by without help from others. It's pretty concerning, so I just want to say thank you all for watching.
Well, just one last thing I want to say on this.
So much more, since his goals were never imperative and his life was never on the line. Like I said before, Lee never had to go through this. Naruto didn't have a choice. Through the destiny of being Ashura's reincarnation, Naruto wasn't destined to succeed.
I don't necessarily know if I agree with that.
Was destined to try his absolute hardest to fight against his best friend to the death, and through his hard work, he changed that destiny.
I mean, the thing is, again, it's like I think I mentioned it before, but that's the hold on. That's the thing that a lot of people kind of had a problem with, which is, you know, he's not destined to succeed. But it's like, I mean, when you look back and look at the previous reincarnations, you had Hashirama, and I don't know if there were necessarily, I can't remember if there were reincarnations before Hashirama and Madara, but let's just say there weren't, and let's say it was Ashura, then Hashirama, and then Naruto. If you look at it, literally every one of them succeeded. Every time there's a fight between the two, Ashura is always the one that comes out on top. Always. So if Naruto is just the recent reincarnation, then you could say, yeah, he was always destined to come out on top, because that's just how it is. It's like, I don't think there was a single instance where Indra's reincarnation succeeded as opposed to Ashura. Again, maybe there were reincarnations before them, but again, we don't know. But as for the ones that we do know, you had Ashura, you had Indra, and, or no, not Ashura and Indra. You had Ashura, then Hashirama, then Naruto. Ashura, from what we know, succeeded over Indra. Hashirama succeeded over Madara. Technically, sort of. I mean, Madara did kind of manage to trick them, and he survived, whereas Hashirama died. So, but that's not necessarily the case. But it's like, whenever it comes to that final fight between the two, you know, the predestined fight between Ashura and Indra, and then Hashirama and Madara, and then Naruto and Sasuke, the Ashura reincarnation always won. So you could say that, yeah, Naruto was always destined to win at the end. Although, granted, he is the main character, so of course he was going to win. I mean, honestly, like, I would have given Kishimoto a lot more balls if he had Sasuke win at the end. But yeah, that wasn't going to happen because, yeah, Naruto, main character, of course, so of course he had to win. And we knew, because before the final chapter, we had the poster for the last Naruto the movie, so we knew Naruto and Sasuke were going to live, none of them were going to die. So at that point, we were just waiting for the story to end and kind of see who would win. But so yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that he wasn't destined to succeed, because I mean, you could argue that maybe he kind of always was. Because that's just how it goes. It seems like the Ashura reincarnate always wins when it comes to that final predestined fight. So I don't know. I mean, again, not that he didn't make a lot of good points, because he does. He did make a lot of good points. Then being that Naruto really did struggle, and of course you had Kurama, who was always, you know, threatening to take over and just messing with him and all of that, making him believe that even in the after during their encounter with Sasuke, like, he told him, it's like, I mean, aren't you the one who's always calling out on my power? So why are you stopping now? And then luckily he had Sasuke come in and seal away his power, thanks to the advancement that he made on his Sharingan. But yeah, so just wanted to say, just wanted to comment on that last point. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like I said, after this, we're going to be watching the PlagueOfGripes video, and we're going to be discussing that and seeing whether or not we agree with a lot of the points that he made, or whether we disagree. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. This video's already gone on a lot longer than it needs to be. Again, this happened again. So you know what to do, guys. Like, share, subscribe, check the description for links, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.